Hey guys, how you doing? Go wider. Let's go wider. Why not? Good a place as any to start. Good a place to start as any. Right, let's duplicate that colour. Let's give ourselves 5 to choose from. It's good evening, but good morning to you. Shading. Do I want to go with that one? Will that work? Let's see how that looks if I go there. Yeah, that'll work. She'll do. She will do. Right, let's go with... Let's fill it with the mid-colour. It's going to be on that side. Doesn't look like much right now. Might not look like much when I'm finished, if I'm being honest, but I'm learning. That's all I can say. I am learning the subtleties of pixel art. Here. Might even go with the highlight just there. A little bit of I'm thinking I need to round off this shoulder a little bit more. It looks like a human being. Since that's the back arm. Maybe cutting a bit there. I'm just learning, practicing, whatever you want to call it, pixel art, because it's something that's always fascinated me. And it might come in handy for a game at some point. You never know. You just never know. Right, if I pop his eyes Around about there. Does that look alright? Gives room for the hair on top. Let's create a new layer. Just like mock some hair in there just for poops and giggles. Oops, a daisy. That was a disaster. Can you tell I don't use my pen tablet very often? Is it obvious? You can go down there maybe. Right, let's go back to that layer. Just to be clear, that's the shadow in his groin area. That's not a penis. Don't want to get cancelled for drawing pixel art nudes. I'm thinking that maybe I need to take this down a little bit more. Where's my button gone? There it is. Chasing my bloody middle mouse button around the screen and then come down with that. That creates a bit more of a how does that look? Actually somehow managed to fluke that so it works. I reckon I need to move his clavicle up a bit though. That's better. Right, let's add a bit more meat to his legs so that he's boom, 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 boom. I think I need to bring this leg back a touch. Oh, I fluffed that up. Let's get rid of that. Let's try sampling there. Right, I think I'm going to have to go, yeah, I think I'm going to go the full 3 thickness with his legs. And hint at definition rather than just putting it in. So, right, we need to... That leg is slightly forward so we can get away with doing that perhaps. Give him some kind of knee joint. And then if I shade maybe like there. Keep that there. Go down to that one. Starting to look a bit more like a person. I probably should put some clothes on him now though. Pixel up nudes. Not doing it for me. Right, what colour pants are we going to give him? Let's give him like bright luminous pants. Just had a silly thought, just for funsies. There you go. Now he's got clothes on. Go all the way with this absurdity. I need to enough silly buggers. Oh, seems to have completely deleted his underwear now, so let's pop that back in. There we go. I'm giving him some green speedo so that no one can complain. Now we're good. Right, do his ankles look a bit thick at the front? I wonder. Hey Aricor, how you doing, my friend? Does that work? No, it does not work. What's going on there? Where did they come from? Indeed. Indeed he does. Let's go back to his hairstyle. Yeah, I'm good, mate. I'm good. I'm just enjoying messing around, really. Practicing making pixel art, as you do. Give him an 80s rat tail. There we go. Now he's classy as. If I zoom out, it does look like, you know, if I were to use that as a 2D sprite in a game, it would work. You would be able to tell that that was a dude with green speedos and a rat tail, wouldn't you? What? There's a game on Steam called Showering with Dad. I mean, you can't. You've got to give Valve credit. They're going to get stung because they use PayPal, they use Visa, they use MasterCard if they aren't careful. But you got to give them credit. They're giving adult devs a platform where other companies that ironically are better suited for it have turned them away, like Patreon. Been there for a few years. Wow. Okay, so there's hope for us yet. I'm actually kind of curious about, I suppose because the content of the adult games, even people like Visa and MasterCard have to be a little bit pragmatic, don't they? At the end of the day, they're imaginary characters, and if there's not depiction of abuse, non-consensual or whatever, then it's not like they can lean on, like they with OnlyFans, they leaned on them to provide proof of ID of everybody contained in the videos on every channel, which is a huge amount of work, so you can understand why they did what they did. But you can't do that with computer games because they're imaginary characters. You get like there are games out there that are blatantly depicting underage people, but they get around it just by having that character clarify that they just look younger or whatever. Anyway, without going on down a rabbit hole of that one, my RPM is already crap without talking about that kind of nonsense. I suppose it depends, doesn't it? I mean, you look at Hollywood now. They're they're having to apologise. They have to put disclaimers at the beginning of Dumbo to clarify that the crows in Dumbo are negative stereotypes. And it's like, no, they're crows. I understand there's more to it than that. Obviously, there's a lot more nuance and stuff like that, but you know. It's interesting being someone who's fairly central, so fairly moderate, as we say in the UK, or centrist, as Americans say. To sit in the middle and watch the left and right fight each other is entertaining, to say the least. It just seems to be the trend. Like, you look at, like, well, I sit and look at Instagram. I don't use Instagram very much, but I'm starting to use it more now because the channel's got an Instagram channel, an Instagram account. But you see all these Hollywood celebrities virtue signaling, and it's gotten to the stage now where, like, they're literally attacking each other for not. But they were posting all those missing persons things about that British actress who apparently went out on the piss for a couple of days or something, and they're all posting like missing persons ads for her, and it's like, right, okay. Yeah, the Fantasia elephants. Yeah, to be fair, that was weird. That was very weird. Even as a kid, I remember watching that as a kid and not really getting it. If that I understood that he was hallucinating, but I didn't find it entertaining in the slightest. It felt almost. I remember thinking back then, it felt uncomfortable. Not in a a lefty, oh, this is wrong kind of way. It's just like, as a kid watching it, I understood enough to know that he was hallucinating, but I just didn't enjoy watching it. It wasn't fun to watch. I'm going to call this Larry now that you've all named him Larry. I feel like his face needs something doing to it. It looks wrong. That still looks wrong. Maybe that'll work. Better. Certainly looks better. Oh, that's darker. Yeah, stick one of those there underneath his jawline. Maybe there works as well. He's got a bit more of a butch jaw now, but it'll work. Right, neck. I'm gonna stick one of those under there as well, underneath his hair, just to show. Too dark. That might be a better colour. Nope, 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 nope. Oh, goodness sake, let's pop it there. Just realised that I've just drawn all that detail on the wrong layer. Never mind, I'll get over it. I am not particularly skilled at this, that's why I am practicing. from the underwear. We can get rid of that layer, we can get rid of that layer. We merge that layer down onto that one. Then we've got his underwear. Boom, 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 boom. Oops. We all need to learn at some point. That's true. Oh, god damn it, I've got to set up the colour palette again. Yeah. I'm quite new to this software, so there's probably a way to set the default palette so that it always goes to the same palette. And I know there's other pieces of pixel art software out there that are probably better. It does rather feel like pulling teeth having to set up a colour palette that actually works every single time I load. But okay, let's go with something a bit more flesh coloured. That can be our highlight colour. Let's go with a slightly larger range now. This is going to be our shadow colour. Nice. Start fresh. Oh man, what did I just do? Okay. I might try something a bit different this time. Let's go with... Does that look like a head? Could do, couldn't it? Could look like a head. Let's just knock out some kind of torso silhouette. I might have slightly messed up here. Not a problem. That's better. Stick those in there like that for now. We can fine tune that later. Which way's the light going to come from? I feel like it needs to come from the back. You're assuming it's a woman. Well, that's very true. They certainly can. They certainly can. Especially if the person drawing them has no idea what they're doing. That looks a bit better. I'm not really sure what I'm going to do with the arms right now, but I might just cut that arm off for now. Better like that, maybe. just literally fudging it at this point, just seeing what happens. Throwing colours down, seeing if I get something I like. Don't really know what I was hoping to achieve with that colour. Try get rid of that a bit. Just looks like now they've got their arm tucked across their front. Like they're blocking something like Batfink with their shield of steel. If you get that reference, you're as old as I am. Flossing, yeah. Yeah, having a little boogie. You're older. Isn't it weird how, like, these days... Yeah. It was weird how, like, going back to the 80s. The 80s was probably the decade where the UK and Britain started having common children's cartoons. You know, things like He-Man, Batfink and Karate, Thundercats and all that sort of thing. Danger Mouse was a very British thing, wasn't it? So was Banana Man. I don't even know if the guy over in America, I don't even know if they had those things over there, but you don't often hear American people talking about those affectionately the same way that you do hear Brits talking about them. But you had like you know, the States, they had people, they had like Bill Nye the Science Guy and people like that, whereas we had Johnny Ball revealing all, you know, similar formats, but it was just, you know. You've never, have you ever seen Banana Man, or are you completely sort of unfamiliar with it? Banana Man is a boy called Eric who lives at 29 Acacia Road, and when he eats a banana he turns into a superhero called Banana Man. Yeah, John Pertwee, yeah. John Pertwee, for those who don't know, who's Super Ted. Yeah, Super Ted was good as well. Super Ted was a bit later than Danger Mouse in terms of era. Not a lot later, but you know. I remember watching Super Ted was probably around about the same time as Jimbo and the Jet Set, Raggy Dolls, and Family Ness. They were entertaining. Prior to that, you had the Get Along Gang. Now, I think that was actually an American cartoon along with Mask. Mask was cool. My parents could never afford the toys, but it was cool. Apparently I'm drawing a ginger dude. Make it a female. Mask and Power Centurions were like the daddies of cartoons. I used to love watching them because they had amazing toys. They like predated the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles by probably 5 or 6 years, and they were just vastly superior toys. T-Bob, wasn't he the one that was a bit like R2-D2, who was a scooter that the kid used to own? Or was it a moped? I'm a bit hazy. Yeah. Let's give her a blue scrunchie. Too dark, too dark. That's not dark enough. Looks like we're going to have to go with this then. One more maybe. I feel like there needs to be some separation between the nose and the mouth, otherwise it's going to look like she's all kinds of weird. Nope. Let's go with bright green Speedos for her as well. Don't want to be discriminatory, you know. Does look a bit like she's got a weird leg now. Better. Was Matt Tracker. He was like the head of Mask, wasn't he? He was like the main dude. There was loads of weird cartoons, like Jason the Wheeled Warriors. That was a trip. It was like cars made out of plants. Right, if that really is an arm there, I need to fix it. It looks like it's reflecting the light a touch. And we need to pop a slightly darker one in there and then bring this lighter one back into there for highlights, because she's obviously covering up her boobages with her arm. Voltron. See, it's there in my memory somewhere, but yeah. it's amazing how you just start off with blobs. Like I had no, this is completely sort of like winged it. I know it's not great, it's not perfect. There's a lot of things that could be fixed to make it look a little bit more like it is what it's meant to be. But it's interesting that you can start with something fairly basic and just kind of add pixels until it gives you what you want. Bit too dark, or does that work? Yeah, it's literally just, it's like the ultimate Bob Rossian experience. You really are just kind of doing happy accidents. Is that too much? Yeah, I think I might have gone too far then. Take away that one. It's like unlike when we're doing rendering, when we do 3D rendering, all the details there and we're using light to bring out those details. We're doing our best to, we haven't got to do any work with the geometry or anything like that. The subject matter is there. We are just doing our best to present it in a way that's attractive. But when you're doing pixel art, it's very much more a case of you're not even drawing something exact, you're hinting at everything. Everything's hinting. I mean, someone could look at this and see nothing. You're just hinting at details, essentially, and hoping that the person who looks at it sees the same thing that you do. Like the face, there's no face there, that is not a face, but if you look at it from far enough away, the detail is hinted at. Let's see if we've got a little flyaway bit here, maybe. Bit too much. So yeah, I don't know why I've suddenly got into doing this. I'm just enjoying it. Animating these things is an entirely different thing. That's going to take me ages to learn, but just doodling and drawing until I come up with something that looks vaguely passable as what I intended it to look like is quite it's almost like therapeutic. Something I can do with this. Yeah, I'll be honest, I'm getting quite burned out on DAZ at the moment because I've been doing so much of it lately, and there's only so much that a dude can talk about before it's just replicating. I know I've said that before, but I'm not going to stop doing it. It's just as you said, I just need a bit of a rest from it because it's crazy. Like now it looks like that leg's bent kind of forwards. This kind of whole area just looks a bit weird to me. I've been dabbling a lot with C# and Unity recently, just thinking about future content really, because I can't just keep making DAZ Studio stuff. I know a lot of people would like me to, but it's just like got to do something different for my own sanity. Well, as long as you guys are still getting benefit from it, that's the main thing. brain just sometimes needs something different, doesn't it? It's like when you watch TV, you watch Netflix, and Netflix is great for anime, but everything else at the moment is seriously lacking. Amazon Prime seems to be doing slightly better in terms of content, in terms of new content recently. I watched Boss Level for the first time a couple of nights ago, and it was very funny. Thoroughly enjoyed it. I'll be honest, like one of the main reasons I got Netflix in the first place was for all the Marvel stuff like Daredevil, Jessica Jones. Not so much Iron Fist and Luke Cage. Don't get me wrong, I watched them, but I found Iron Fist was really bad, and Luke Cage was... I didn't enjoy it. Punisher was amazing. The thing with here's the thing before I go off tangent, right? The kind of people that are watching these shows are not the kind of people that need a lecture on racism. It's like The Falcon and the Winter Soldier. The kind of people that watched that TV series didn't need the 5-minute lecture at the end by Falcon about racism. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's literally a case of preaching to the choir, singing in an echo chamber at this point. It's like, you know, you're not going to get through to the kind of people that you're trying to get through to because they aren't watching your content. Yeah, Christian Ritter is very, very photogenic. I've never actually watched Lucifer, I have to be honest. I've seen it. I've always had better things to do. I know that sounds like a really dumb thing to say, but it's just like, it's one of those things. Oh, Jessica, yeah, that was good. I actually quite liked his character in Jessica Jones, yeah. Yeah, I'm with you on that one. He was good. He's a very accomplished actor. It's surprising he hasn't had more movie work, really. I know he's had some, but he's one of those underrated guys, isn't he? Lauren German in Lucifer. Oh, okay. The name rings a bell. I'll be honest, I haven't much exposure to her. There we go. Just gives us something different to look at than that annoying cross-hatched background. Maybe go one darker. Just there. No, and perhaps there. No, too much. Too much. Of course, the downside of having a blue background is I now can't sample transparency. If I delete that, does that look better? Looks a bit more like a rounded chin, doesn't it? It looks more like a lady's face. I'll put my pen down for a minute and talk to you chaps. Yeah, the thing, funnily enough, I was watching the PewDiePie's video that he uploaded earlier, which was him and Cinnamon Toast Ken mocking a video about the richest YouTubers. And they raised an interesting point. I don't realise. I'm not entirely sure if they sort of got the irony of them raising the point, because they're both very wealthy chaps themselves. But they were saying about how it used to be quite taboo for YouTubers to talk about how much money they make, whereas nowadays it's sort of like it's kind of almost fashionable to boast about how well you're doing if you're one of the 2% or the 1%, as it is on YouTube, the people who make crazy money. And then Felix moaned about only making $6 million. I think it's taboo. I would, I'm quite happy to tell people I make peanuts, but yeah, I think it's still taboo. It's like if you're at work and someone says, "How much did you earn this month?" You just say, "No, it's none of your business." But the sort of the notion that these guys are making literally $5, $6, $7 million a year for just uploading a video. In Felix's case now, he only uploads 3 videos a week, and he's making $6 million a year from that. And the sort of the tone of the conversation was that was something to be hard done by. I think to myself, Christ, I'll be lucky if I make that much in my lifetime. Yeah, I don't blame him for keeping it close to his chest at all. I'd be quite happy if within the next couple of years I get to a stage where I'm able to support myself just on the YouTube thing. As in, I won't give up my job because I'm not an idiot, but to have the income that if I wanted to, I could. But because I enjoy my job, I enjoy doing it, I would never give it up just for YouTube. But if the opportunity arose to actually start my own proper game development studio, if I could find enough like-minded people, I wouldn't be doing adult VNs. Let's put it that way. There's just as much as I don't have a problem with them, I enjoy them and so on. If it's all about making a living, if it's about the business, then you'd be an idiot to start a company that makes nothing but stuff that's just constantly under attack. You'd have to do mainstream stuff. You never know, the voice acting thing might take off. I've had some interest on that one. I've never really considered myself a voice actor. Voiceover I can do because that's just talking, but yeah, but that's the same with AAA games or mainstream games, isn't it? Is if you go on the group discussions on Steam, 99% of the comments are just people complaining. The thing is with the crowdfunding business model like Patreon or Subscribestar is that it is entirely luck. You just have to be in the right place at the right time. The planets have to align for you to, the majority of people, even these supposedly big named guys that were big when I first started, were only making $1,500–$1,600 a month. I know that there is one in particular person who makes upwards of like $30,000 a month now, but he's running a team. He's got like 7 or 8 people working for him, so actually it works out kind of right, But the majority of adult devs are never going to be able to make millions just from that. But then, let's be honest, the majority of adult devs have no intentions of developing serious games for a living. They just want to earn money from making nudie renders, which is fair enough. To each their own. I'd be lying if I said the thought hadn't occurred to me. But I actually do love developing computer games, and I do want to make, try and make something of it. But in terms of making a living from it, I know it's just never going to happen. Maybe, but then again, it's the whole tax thing, because I get a pension from my time in the armed forces and I've got a full-time job. Any money that I would make from something like that, I'm only going to be paying it all in tax anyway. The timing's just not right for adult games at the moment. There are still too many people who are very regressive. Maybe in the next 10 years or so there'll be there'll be more of a mainstream appeal for them, but at the moment you look at when Mass Effect first came out and the very hint of side boob in there drove people mental. Same with the Witcher series, because the Witcher games have all got nips in them. Oh yeah, I don't want to make assumptions about other people's countries. I know that there are people out there who are in, less fortunate situations who would appreciate the opportunity to earn sort of $2,000 a month. But in the UK, the tax situation is overwhelming. If you had the kind of money that you needed to run a company, I wouldn't be doing rendering or artwork. I'd be doing coding and story writing. I enjoy making the artwork, like I've been enjoying doing this pixel art and stuff. It's fun, but I'm learning it out of necessity as well, If I want to make my own sort of mainstream games, I need to learn to make my own art assets, because I just can't afford to hire somebody else to do it. And learning pixel art is sort of like step one, isn't it, really? Learning to create 2D sprites for little 2D games, and then I can move onwards and upwards. Start doing the low poly stuff in Blender as well. Funnily enough, actually, I noticed that I don't know if these people watch my channel or something, but every time I broach a topic, like I started doing low poly. My last video was low poly meshes for small little dinky things in maps and stuff, and then somebody sent me a link to a website which will remain nameless because I don't like going to those websites anyway. But no word of a lie, 24 hours after my video went live, this website suddenly published about 5 or 6 different videos on the same topic. Piracy websites this is. So I don't know, I presume that these people are keeping an eye on all channels like mine to see what's trending and what's not. Tax is insane. That's madness. I mean, we pay a lot of tax in the UK. We pay a lot of tax, but then we have the welfare system and so on. We have like if I don't gain any benefit from the welfare system. But people less fortunate than I do. I don't know if it's stealing, that's the thing, is that I know that I've sort of broached this topic before and people have misconstrued what I've been saying, because I've been talking about how there's a lot of smaller DAS Studio based YouTubers that basically if I upload a video a few days later they'll be uploading one similar. But is that copying, or is that just taking advantage of what's trending? I'm not a trendsetter by any stretch of the imaginations, but I'm one of the bigger formerly DAS Studio oriented channels. So if people are watching a video that I make on how to do something, if I make a video on how to do D-Force clothing, and people are watching it, then it makes sense for smaller channels to do the same thing. I don't know if copying is the right term. I understand where you're coming from, I do. But realistically is that it's not. If it were, so in the job I get, I am a teacher, or I'm an instructor. I don't teach children, I teach adults. And we have, the company I work for sells a number of hours to our clients. So they'll sell 37 hours of my time per week to teach. So there's a budget of a number of hours. But YouTube is different. YouTube is an entirely bottomless economy in that there are 6-7 billion people on this planet, all with the potential to be able to watch YouTube. And 6-7 billion times 24 hours a day is, you know, that's nearly getting close to 20 billion hours a day of watch time. Potential watch time on YouTube. I know that the numbers are much lower than that. 6-7 million people don't watch YouTube a day, and they don't watch for 24 hours, but you're looking at a crazy amount of hours. Most of the people that follow me also follow other Dash Studio channels. They also follow other Ren'Py channels, and they will watch more than one video a day. So someone else making a video on the same subject that I made one, doesn't stop them watching my video. So it's not as cut and dried as that. If for the people who only have like an hour a day, my videos are only generally 20 minutes or less long anyway. But let's say someone's only got 20 minutes a day, then they have to choose between watching me or watching another channel. That's where there's competition. But the overwhelming majority of people that will watch YouTube for more than that. They'll watch an hour, maybe 2 hours of YouTube a day. So they're not really having to decide between watching me and watching someone else. Generally, they're watching me and somebody else. I realise I'm only talking to 2 people at the moment, which is ironic, but you know, it's so, you know, and we're all colleagues. At the end of the day, we're all just trying to give out information. The money that I earn from YouTube ad revenue is so minuscule that someone else making the same content as I make, they're not stealing from me really. They're not, because they're not gaining anything. They're taking literally pennies, actual pennies. That's all it is. So, you know, if I was like PewDiePie and I was making thousands of dollars per video, and someone then started copying me and everyone was watching them instead, then that would be perhaps something to be more concerned about. But like, my ad revenue dropped by 30% in sort of July and hasn't rebounded, and I think it's probably because during YouTube's I speak a little bit more freely, so to advertisers that's less attractive. So I just have to try and be careful what I say during live streams and stuff. Well, yeah, but you know, one man's idea is another man's inspiration, isn't it? But I'm not arguing the toss with you by any stretch of the imagination. I agree with your, I agree with where you're coming from. But I'm trying to, as a person creating a lot of content, I can't afford to be getting stressed out and upset about everyone who makes a copy of the same thing, you know, of what I'm doing, because it happens so frequently these days, because I am one of the biggest Daz Studio channels, that it's one of those things. It's inevitable. I'm definitely in trouble then, Erical. Got the personality of a glass of water. Well, yeah, that's true, Elikram. I suppose, yeah, you can afford to be a little bit more abrupt about such things, but realistically, everybody who's out there making this content, like there's a couple of guys out there covering topics that I just don't cover. But the animation side of things I won't touch, because in my humble opinion, animation on Daz Studio is a massive waste of time. You know, the amount of time it takes to render such an insignificant sort of thing, and you could be so much more productive doing it in other software. Yeah, I can only imagine. I can only imagine. I do watch the occasional video by other people every now and again, and you just think, oh my god, get to the point. But that's because I'm so used to being direct and to the point that you spend sort of, you know, there are people out there who still have 30-second long intros, which I've been guilty of in the past, but I learned my lesson because people said this intro's too long, so I changed it. You see people who've got, you know, 30-second long intros that show off really mediocre content, and you're just like, I'm not sure you should be showcasing that, mate, if you're trying to attract viewers. People might be saying the same thing about my pixel art, though. They could very well be, couldn't they? Yeah, I think that sort of thing, ARACORE, is like they're trying to force their personality on people. They're not allowing the audience to get to know them organically. They're almost sort of like trying to get to where the likes of PewDiePie and Cinnamon Toast Ken are by force. There's a guy who does photography videos that one of my friends works with. Nice enough chap, but his videos, he's got like a 30-second long, really flashy intro, and he presents it like he thinks he's on TV. Sorry, I just punched the microphone. You know, the way he carries on, it's like he feels like he thinks he's on. He thinks he's a TV presenter, and he talks in that really condescending way that a lot of people on YouTube are guilty of. You know, like they feel like they're teaching children, and it's just like, no, you're talking to adults. Talk to them like adults. Yeah. Well, the money from YouTube only comes from ad watches. If you skip the ads, then YouTube doesn't get any money. So like a 10-minute video, there is no longer a minimum length of video for an ad. I can make a 1-minute long video and it could still potentially get an ad on it, although advertisers will tend to pay for videos that are more likely to attract watch time. See, I was doing that Daz Bite-Sized series a while back where I was making like 3-minute long videos for just explaining how to do one very specific thing, and I didn't see any difference in my ad revenue. So it wasn't losing me ad revenue, but then I might not have just been making much ad revenue anyway, because I don't. So you have to be so careful what you say and what you talk about. Like doing live streams, I'm taking such a huge risk. Because it's someone talks about in the chat, or I accidentally say something that's not advertiser friendly, and that's it. That, you know, it'll take me months to recover from that, which I think is what's kind of happening at the moment. I think I might have said, or someone might have said something in one of my streams like back in July, which has turned off advertisers basically. So I could say I saw a 30% reduction in my ad revenue, which to be fair is not a lot of money. You're talking like $25 kind of difference, but no, it's I haven't seen anything that I would consider to be dangerous in this conversation. We've all been, I think, you know, the tendency is, because I know that a large portion of my viewership come from the adult VN community, that it's inevitable that certain topics are going to come up. Yeah, it's difficult to say. I honestly don't know. Like, I've tried to ask Google for some kind of clarification on what is or isn't likely to have affected it, but they're always very sketchy, which is ironic, because well, it's not ironic, it's not ironic at all actually, but realistically YouTube or Google are my business partner, so it would make sense for them to be as helpful as they possibly could, but I suppose they do have literally millions of business partners at this point, so It depends on the channel as well, doesn't it? I mean, you look at PewDiePie, another example. Well, I mean, firstly, he has members-only chat, which is tempting, but then it means I wouldn't be able to talk to most of the people that I usually talk to. But because he's such a big channel, and because he has such a high viewership, advertisers kind of are willing to overlook a lot of stuff to advertise on him, on his videos, because they know that literally millions of people are going to see the ad. Whereas someone like myself, because I only get on average about 600 views on a video within the first week, that's fairly low. And you know, they're not particularly enticing anyway. It's kind of like you look at what happened on Patreon with, you know, people like Dark Cookie managing to keep their count. Whereas people, Patreon users like myself, who were putting much less rancid content in our games, were never given the opportunity to fix our games because we just weren't making as much money as he was. So it's very much a, you know, as much as Jack Conti and all of his lot like to preach about being a liberal organization or a, you know, leftist organization, they're still very, very much a capitalist in actual implementation. People who pull in more money get more leverage, more padding. So I'm not complaining about it at all. It is what it is. It's just how it goes. But I'm aware of the world I live in, you know. But you know, I'm just justifying my mindset in that I've got to be a little bit more careful about the things I talk about on live streams. Let's just draw something. Let's draw something new on the screen. Come on, wakey wakey. Got to turn it off and on again. It goes into standby mode if I leave it off for too long. Right. Add a new layer, drag it all the way to the top. I don't know, again, I don't know if that's YouTube's fault though. I think everyone like slags off Suzanne Wojcicki or whatever her name is. But her company is basically walking a tightrope. If you think about it, I mean, it's a platform where people she has no control over these people whatsoever. In like, she doesn't get to edit the videos or veto them until they're already on. Like realistically, I mean, there's already been like 3 separate adpocalypses. You know, where there's been a swathe of things that have turned off advertisers completely. And I mean, that must be an absolute nightmare to run a business like that, where, you know, literally all it takes is one person to say the wrong thing and advertisers just go, we're not using YouTube again. It eventually recovers, but you know, you go through potentially months or a year or years of having massive implications on your revenue stream. That would stress me out big time. Put that in the wrong place now, isn't it? Oh, right, I'm using the wrong tool. That'll be why. No, I think that is the right colour. We'll go there and there and there and there. wondering why I've got Micah stuck in my head. It's because of Ryan Reynolds, the bastard. Him and Will Ferrell uploading a video earlier on. There you go, now she's holding a towel. Yeah, but it always affects the people that are the most vulnerable. That's the problem. Like Felix, Jacksepticeye, Mr. Beast. You look at what happened to David Dobrik. I mean, he turned out to be an utter scumbag, but realistically, he's already got crazy amounts of money in his bank account, so losing his main revenue stream might be an inconvenience, but it's not going to ruin his life, is it? Whereas someone like me, who earns peanuts from it, realistically, the little bit of money that I do make from YouTube does mean a lot to me. So if it were to be taken away from me, it would be a lot more of an impact. Yeah, the irony of that situation is that the models themselves don't care. I've never worked with a model who said don't Photoshop me, because it's the nature of the business. Ignoring what the ultra liberal types think about it, the fact is that it's not promoting an unhealthy body image if it's promoting a healthy body image. Making someone feel bad about not being in the top 2% is, to me, seems to be a little bit crazy. There's a reason that we covet people who are conventionally beautiful, and there's a reason that we covet having millions of dollars in the bank, and that's because it's not something that we're likely to ever achieve. That's called life. And the fact that magazines put people like Cara Delevingne and things like that on the front of their magazines all the time because she is uniquely attractive, that's the whole point. We covet them because they're rare, not because everybody's got it. You put someone who looks like average Joe on the front of a magazine, no one's going to buy it because they see that every day. They don't, it's not an interest to them. It's like Kim Kardashian. People pay to see her because she's unique. She's uniquely annoying a lot of the time, but she's still unique, so people are interested. People want to see stories about her. Yeah, if you're liquefying to make someone look 50 pounds lighter than that, there is a point where you have to be pragmatic, obviously. What you find is a lot of it is projection. People with massive insecurities about their own body, face, personality, hair, finances, whatever, project their insecurities onto other people. So it becomes a massive issue when you dare to hint that someone who's conventionally beautiful is beautiful. It's like, well, get over it, kinda. If I was particularly worried about, let's be honest, I do not have a face for TV. I'm not a typically handsome person. But you just have to kind of get comfortable in your own skin. There's a lot of things I would change if I could. I'd fix my teeth for one thing, because I was a typical British child back in the 80s. I didn't respect them. Didn't brush my teeth properly when I was a kid, and then when I was a young adult I drank a lot of Alco Pops. I was an absolute pisshead, like crazy amounts of Alco Pops, and now my teeth have, as a consequence, are not great. Yeah, everyone's got their own thing. But you don't go into, when you first meet someone, you don't have any indication of whether or not their personality is great, or if they're you don't know anything about that person. Literally all you've got to go on is they're attractive or not, if you're attracted to them or not. It takes time to develop a liking to someone based on personality alone, and you can't do that over the internet, as much as people claim that you can. Especially these days, people getting catfish left and right. You could be talking to who you think is your soulmate, most attractive person in the world, and it turns out to be some 40-year-old truck driver called Barry. No offense to 40-year-old truck drivers called Barry, of course, but you're not my cup of tea, sorry. Get cancelled for saying that. There'll be some 40-year-old truck driver called Barry who goes and tops himself now, and it'll be my fault. Funnily enough, you say that. I was looking on Amazon Prime earlier, and there's a new TV show called Kevin Can Bleep Himself, which I presume is a reference to Kevin Can Wait. But I never found that TV show. I have to be honest. Like, some American sitcoms I've enjoyed, like I enjoyed Friends. I enjoyed How I Met Your Mother, although that didn't age very well. I enjoyed My Name Is Earl. But I've yet to see anything with Kevin James in it that I found funny. Paul Blart Mall Cop, I didn't find that particularly amusing. There were bits in it that were like, oh, that's quite funny. But like as a full-on comedy, just didn't find it that funny. I did, however, find, speaking of Kevin's, I thought Jay and Silent Bob reboot was very funny. I laughed a considerable number of times throughout that. Mork and Mindy's quite a bit earlier, but yeah, it was alright. It was okay. Nanu Nanu and all that. Again, being in Britain, we saw Mork and Mindy. Mork and Mindy was on kind of later on in the evening. Happy Days would always be on like on a Sunday afternoon or something, but Mork and Mindy was on. It wasn't as accessible as like Happy Days was. Yeah, I always laugh out loud when I watch one of the Grand Tours, just because it is funny. You got to give Clarkson credit, like he plays his role to a T. Even in, have you seen Clarkson's Farm? Yeah, Clarkson's Farm's very good as well. I thoroughly enjoyed that. And you actually do find yourself towards the end actually giving a shit about like British farmers. It's quite very well done. Fair play to him. No, yeah, yeah, the internet and TV on demand has made a huge difference, because it means that countries that otherwise wouldn't have been able to get things have been able to get hold of them. Terrestrial television was a very, very difficult format to spread, which makes it all the more impressive when you look at how successful some of the old TV shows were. They really didn't. Well, I mean, just before he left, or he was sacked, or whatever you want to call it, the last season of Top Gear that those three presented sold in, I can't remember how many countries it was, but they were getting 600 million viewers around the world. Not over the course of a month like PewDiePie or Jacksepticeye or them, like watching it when it was being broadcast, which is insane when you think about it. That's, you know, at the time 10% of the world's population were watching Top Gear. He's a very clever man, Jeremy Clarkson. He plays his persona to the letter every time. Yeah, I wouldn't have minded going to one of those either, to be honest. Mainly because there's always attractive women there. But, you know, just to see the cars. Yeah, really would have liked to have gone to one of those. But yeah, I'd imagine they were damn expensive. But given what happened, at least what the story is that's in the papers, I think they were very, very... The BBC had to do it. They had no choice. I don't think Clarkson really left them any wiggle room on that one. And to be honest, the cynic in me suspects that maybe he did that on purpose to get out of any contractual ties that he had with the BBC, because Amazon were sniffing around, you know, and they offer big money. Oh, could you imagine? Like, don't get me wrong, I like Matt LeBlanc. I think he's a very funny chap. And he's a serious petrolhead. But Chris Evans, he was good presenting morning radio, but as a TV presenter, he's just so obnoxious. I remember when he was hosting the Big Breakfast, and it was just like, he just stands and shouts at the camera, and you're just like, good God. Yeah, exactly. Hammond and May didn't exactly fight either, did they? But then I suppose they knew what they had. They knew that as a trio, they're much stronger than individually. You look at everything that Hammond's done on his own and that James May has done on their own, and they've done okay, but they've nowhere near met the success that they've had as a group. I just hope that Clarkson's farming ventures don't affect his ability to make Grand Tour videos, because they're very funny. Getting dark outside. Yeah, but he's not helped himself really, has he, when he blew up his house and things like that. It's a good way of pissing off the neighbours, but they'll get over it. Abby Eaton, she's the racing driver that they sometimes use, isn't it, on the Grand Tour? Yeah, she's bloody good. Bloody good. It's only because they couldn't get Sabine Schmidt, I think, because she was already presenting Top Gear Germany. But yeah, female Stig. Alright guys, I am going to knock it on the head here because it's 7:30 in the evening. I've got to get ready for work in the morning and stuff. But I've actually genuinely enjoyed chatting to you chaps today. I will be back Sunday at the latest. You've all seen the live streams down as a reminder thing. So so yeah, I'll see you on Sunday, if not sooner, guys. But have a really good evening, and thanks very much for the chat.